Hello and good morning out there, everybody, and welcome to volume number 5 of my Microsoft HoloLens 2.0 educational series. Today I'll be reviewing the Mixed Reality Design Labs periodic table of elements. This is an open source application, and I'll actually put that from the GitHub right up here that you guys can see. And this is a two-part video. Number one, I'm going to be recording and reviewing spatial computing in the educational context, all the way from elementary up through master's and PhD level, but I'm also going to be discussing using these kinds of assets as a developer to streamline your own proof of concepts. So let's go through number one for me first. This was very difficult for me growing up to learn. I failed college 3 times. I graduated high school with a 2.1 GPA. I was not some kind of academic outlier or achiever. I had an extreme learning disability, and learning in 2D interfaces such as this one right here was nigh impossible for me. So getting this in the hands of kids, like my 5-year-old son uses this now. He knows the entire periodic table now from front to back, which is amazing. I didn't learn it until I was probably 10 years later than him. So he's looking at the proton number and the electron number, the atomic weight, and the melting point and the boiling point. But again, the kids can reach out and actually visualize these elements, and then they can put them together and they can see how all of this fits together in the context of science, technology, engineering, and management, and physics and chemistry, and so on and so forth. So I definitely think that we should be doing everything we can to subsidize these kinds of applications into elementary, into high school, and definitely into college. I'm at the University of Washington in the SEAL Lab, and almost nobody is using any kind of spatial computing in any educational context whatsoever. So that's why I continue to keep developing these applications for you, so you can see and understand how we're going to move this technology forward. And here's the radio one here. So you can kind of streamline this. So this is, again, I want to come back into the developer stuff here in a moment, but moving forward, I think it's very important for kids to interact with this at a very young age, so we can get them generating their own imagination and then putting forth some of the feedback into developers' hands. And speaking of developers, we want to use this kind of open source applications to bring into your own projects, because think about it this way. All these assets right here could be used to create a fantasy sports league where all of these individual cards have player names for the NBA, the NFL, the Major League Baseball. And there's also an application for media, for news, so you could surround yourself with 150 different media sources, and then you could use an AI inference model to go out and cross-check that automatically, basically being your own fact checker, but using your own trained model to instantiate whether or not a news article is, above 10% factual or fact based on truth. So, which is really, really cool. But that's where these open source applications come. They're very important for developers and for people moving the spatial computing industry forward by sharing and broadcasting their knowledge to everybody. That's why it's so vitally critical that we continue to share across the platform for everybody in this industry, because that's how we learn, that's how we educate, that's how we iterate, that's how we fail, right? Because you don't learn anything if you don't fail, if you don't go through some of these hills and valleys. And that's what the spatial computing industry has actually gone through in the last 5 years. So I think now we're reaching through that last little plateau that we dove down into, and we're coming back up. And the next year is going to be a fascinating development into all these different kinds of applications from companies such as Apple and Vuzix and NewEyes and Microsoft and even Magic Leap. I know they're coming out with a new headset probably next week that might be more focused on healthcare. But again, there's a lot of other companies out there that are developing this stuff, and these kinds of open source GitHub repositories are more advantageous than you can possibly imagine. For me, they are exponentially vital for me to continue to learn, because this is how I teach myself, and then I go out there and share it with as many people as I can. And again, I think if all of us took that approach towards spatial computing, this stuff would get out there much quicker than what we've seen in the last 2 or 3 years. But I think that the time is coming for this to come into the full open platform, the open source, for everybody to get in and learn. And I am so excited to share this with you. So please subscribe today. Keep tuning into my channel. I'm going to broadcast at least 1 to 2 videos like this every single week especially on the HoloLens educational series. I have some more stuff coming up on the mixed reality toolkit. I have some other stuff on the stream recorder for computer vision and various other things on my Depth Camera Central and volumetric capture series. So thank you so much for always tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.